investments are a very, very personalized process.
Yeah.
So that way, books like yours actually maybe my take on the book. And my dad, as I was telling you, is also has read that book, a part of it, right? And his take on the book will be very different.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
I'm very thrilled that people like you are doing this, because you may write it with a specific purpose, but various parts of your book audience will take different things away from.
Correct.
And my other theory about books is just keep distributing it as much as you can. I don't like keeping books in my house as much. If it's a good book, I think my point is to give it away as quickly as possible. It's like storing money, as we talked about. Storing is you store money, it doesn't grow, right? The same logic works in books. Many people don't know this, but 1 in 4 investors in Indian mutual funds are investors of Axis Mutual Fund. I think we undervalue the value of an institutional brand. And I've worked for some smaller companies in my life, and they're very good companies. They're very well known outside India, but in India, unfortunately, they're not that well known. Typically the larger foreign AMCs, and you spend your first 5 minutes of discussion typically talking about what the parent does.
Yeah.
And then what you're going to do. And then we get to business.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm and enthusiastic welcome to yet another episode of our Dialogue with the Veteran series. It is with great honor and privilege that we have had the pleasure of hosting Mr. Raghav Iyengar, the distinguished Chief Business Officer of Axis Mutual Fund. In this captivating episode, Mr. Iyengar graciously opened the doors of inner workings of Axis Mutual Fund, sharing his insights into the remarkable journey of their growth and tantalizing glimpses of their exciting future plans. One of the exciting future plans in the pipeline is their financial education programs such as intriguing riskometer and risk profiling. That's not for all. Mr. Iyengar emphasized the pivotal role the financial advisors has to play not only in the financial industry but also in the lives of the investors at large. To conclude this session, he bestowed upon us treasure trove of wisdom that will not only guide us but also inspire us on the financial journeys. Without much ado, let us embark on an enlightening journey with Mr. Raghav Iyengar.
Good morning, Raghav. Thank you so much for coming on this discussion with me. We are going to do a whole lot of, we are going to talk a whole lot of things. We are going to discuss a whole lot of things. I hope to get some wonderful answers from you, relevant answers from you for our viewers. And I'm going to start from what Axis has done wonderfully.
Suresh, thank you so much for having me on the show. First of all, that wonderful answers bit is like you're making me feel like, how I'm assuming Sachin Tendulkar feels when he gets into the opening batsman. And somebody says, yeah, Sachin is come now, he's going to definitely hit a century, right? So I was experiencing that for the last 5 seconds. But yeah, sorry, your question.
No. You're going to do fine, Raghav. All the very best. Yeah. So I just wanted to put in perspective Axis meteoric rise to the top 10 slot. It has been probably one of the first AMCs to have such a kind of a meteoric rise. I know about the bank assurance, but a lot of other AMCs also have the advantage of bank assurance. So can you tell me what is the secret sauce that you have, which we all need to know how that meteoric rise has exactly happened?
I think 3 things come to mind immediately, Suresh. One is, I think we undervalue the value of an institutional brand. And I've worked for some smaller companies in my life, and they're very good companies. They're very well known outside India, but in India, unfortunately, they're not that well known. Typically the larger foreign AMCs, and you spend your first 5 minutes of discussion typically talking about what the parent does.
Yeah.
And then what you're going to do. And then we get to business. So there is, like, I call it a PPT booklet. Let's say if the presentation of a product is 20 pages, I would spend maybe 40% of my time in these companies on the first 5 pages, which is what my parentage is, blah, 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 all that stuff. Here, frankly, we are fortunate. At least I am fortunate. The brand is the company's been fortunate that Axis is a very well recognized brand. It's a pan-Indian brand. It's not focused only on one region. And it's a retail brand, which has actually been the second pillar of our success. So I think many people don't know this, but 1 in 4 investors in Indian mutual funds are investors of Axis Mutual Fund.
Oh. Wonderful.
So we may be the fastest growing. So a lot of that is also on the foundation of, it's built on the back of a very, very strong retail finance or retail characterization of a mutual fund, right? And I think the way retail works is very interesting, and I'm sure you have more experience than I have. They start small, but eventually end up becoming quite large. So, they start with maybe 5,000 rupees, which would have been the minimum ticket, and then they go through. So obviously bank assurance, the Axis Bank channel is a very, very important channel for us. They gave us our first big push, right? Because obviously you need someone to get you a car you make does very well, but you need someone to put it into first gear and then keep it at second, third gear. I think Axis Group largely gave that to us as in the initial part of our existence. But I think after that, given the brand, given the retailization, more importantly, number two, we are very clear as to what we will do in our funds, especially the equity funds. I think we were known for a quality and growth style. We are yet known largely for quality and growth. And I think people appreciate that. And more importantly, then proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yeah.
Financial services has a lot of people who come, say something, do something. I think in Axis AMC's case, I think largely what we have said in our product literature reflects very much in our portfolio statements.
Yeah.
So as an advisor, Suresh, you will never get surprised as to why Axis is doing well or doing badly or whatever, right? As long as you have gone and communicated that bit to the customer. And I think that part of it, the industry, especially the distribution advisory industry, has caught it very, very.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump in here. I mean, you talked about the quality and the growth style of investment. I mean, Axis is known for that. I know that. But that particular style, I mean, there's nothing to do with Axis Mutual Fund, but that particular style has not really worked that well in the recent past. So is there going to be a change of heart as far as the growth style is concerned? Are you going to bring in other styles? Because currently at this moment, growth style is not really, not really doing that very well.
Yes. You're absolutely right. There is a very strong correlation, Suresh, between hike in interest rates and growth style doing badly. And that's, if you see last 2-3 years, that's what's happened, right? I mean, one is that, quality, basically your definition of quality ensures that you are in a very, very smaller company set of investments. So we were fortunate that at a period of time, you had market focus completely on that, because prior to COVID also, I think the Indian economy was going through some level of stress, 2018, etc. So people wanted to get into companies where earnings were sustainable and predictable. And in Axis, we believe in a very, very bottom-up investment philosophy. So we would like to find, we are company pickers, right? You obviously look at sector, then within that sector, we try and look for, we're trying to look for that undiscovered company. And then of course, if we like it, it fits into our various quantitative and qualitative parameters, we will stick with it. And that's broadly what we've done. So you see part of our portfolio, very low churn, and that helped us very well till 2020. Unfortunately, after that, you know what's happened. Interest rates went up, Ukraine war happened. We're going through that phase right now. There was a mild period of between April and June of 23 where actually interest rates came down a bit, if you remember. And Axis funds, if you go back and see, immediate correlation. I mean, a lot of our funds in that one quarter had saw dramatic improvements in performance. Unfortunately, July, August, again, the same thing came back. And, we've sort of, so my view is that as an advisor, I think, yes, we are not going to change fundamental character of our portfolios, at least on the existing funds. We are building a separate suite of fund managers. I think that has happened because there's a new CIO who's come in, Ashish Gupta. He's a very, very senior investment professional, someone with 30 years out of experience. He has worked in Credit Suisse and has hence experienced and seen various investment styles in his working career. So we are moving into a different set of styles, but that will not happen in our frontline existing funds. That will happen in newer funds. For example, we have a value fund. We're doing some work there. We have a business cycle fund. We're doing some work there. So there, if you look at the commonality of portfolio between that and let's say Blue Chip or Focus 25, you will find very little commonality of portfolio. So we are already walking the talk there. Now, when will this style come back? Anybody's guess. I think it's a question of patience. And fortunately, as I said, a lot of our investors are retail investors. So retail investors, unlike their wealthy counterparts, are much more patient. They are willing to give more time to the fund manager. So in some sense, actually, I compliment their style of investing. And I think that's indirect compliments to people like you, because a lot of that hard work of keeping the investor invested is actually thanks to what you do.
Yeah. So another thing which I noted as far as Axis Mutual Fund specifically is that you have a full complement of products across all categories. Be it
Yes.
equity, be it debt, be it international, be it solution oriented, be it anything else, sectoral, everything. So any
Yeah.
particular thought why you have done that thing? I cannot say that for every AMC.
Yeah, I think what we sort of decided we won't do, Suresh, is that we want to actively manage sector funds, because that's something that sort of uh, at the immediate stage, given the maturity of the Indian mutual fund industry, it is something which we feel is a bit, it may act against the interest of a normal investor, maybe for someone getting advice by you. But to fill that gap, we've got index funds there. So let me go backwards. I think the whole passives indexes, international space, and debt and equity, obviously. I think we are known more for our equity. In fact, we are possibly the only AMC who has a reverse AUM flip, right? Out of our 2,60,000 crores, about 160,000 is equity and about 100,000 is debt. I don't know, give or take market valuations approximately. I think this would be as of end July. But coming to, so I have a lot of work to do in debt. So if you ask me, I think the debt part is something that we need to communicate more to people like you and say, why don't you recommend Axis debt? Now, coming
I
to
saw
why
a
we
full
have this.
portfolio of debt funds, nevertheless. I
Yeah,
saw a full portfolio.
yeah. It's there. It's there, but I think we can do some more work with it. We need to give more confidence and more information to people like you for us to get onto your recommendation list with clients. I think, but the reason we have that is very clear. I think we believe that we are manufacturers. We are the solution providers. The allocators are people like you. So I need to give you a full suite of products so that you can allocate depending on your client needs. And the other thing, of course, is that we did some work around international. So we got into the international space very, very early. Unfortunately, there's a limit issue right now. But I personally feel that's a very big area of growth because Indians have a very, very strong home bias. Even amongst emerging market countries like, let's say, Brazil, or I won't call China emerging market, but let's say, for example, Indonesia, which are similar economies to us. The home bias is not as much as in India. In India, the home bias is in excess of 90%. That means that you're putting 95% of your savings into your own country.
Yeah.
But our needs and our aspirations are all overseas. I mean, anybody you talk to, and I'm sure you meet enough clients, and I'm sure the top three requirements of theirs would be, hey, we need an international education.
Yeah.
A short-term need would be an international holiday. So somewhere there is a need which is saying international, but the investments are domestic. So that's fine right now because I think obviously India is in a great place. I think there's enough of news flow around doing well. But over a longer period of time, some diversification is required. So we need to keep that, but we need to keep that clear. Again, they're the same theory works, Suresh. We don't want to do very, very country-specific stuff. So we've done one large cap or one, very mega cap kind of a fund. We've done one innovation fund, which are these two ideas are not really available in India in a meaningful way. And the only country fund we have is China.
Yeah.
So because China unfortunately does not have enough space in the index. So they're part of the index, but given their size of economy and the size of their representation in the index, they're different.
Okay.
Same thing works in passive. So we have the whole set of passives there. So we have ETFs, we have index funds. Our sizes are also quite relevant because we were late to that game. We started passives much later than the competition, but it's there. It's there for people like you to sort of take there. So we want to be a bit of a one-stop shop to a financial planner.
Yeah.
And why go outside? Why go outside? You got all your solutions here, basically.
Okay. Understood. So the next thing is, I mean, now it is a bit about the industry itself. The industry has grown by leaps and bounds since 2000. We are now I think 46 lakh crores or something like that, around that figure.
Yes.
So industry has grown by leaps and bounds. The awareness among the investors has also gone up thanks to the mutual fund Sahi campaign and other initiatives which the media and various people have taken, including yourself. But still, the ownership as far as mutual fund schemes are concerned in the country is lagging behind big time. Even certain other emerging economies. So, I mean, how do we correct that?
I think we must understand one thing. India is a very diverse country with a very large investable population. Right? Let's just be clear about it. We keep comparing ourselves to the US and to Europe, but let's understand these countries are 100 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
And we are India as a country is one, but each investment area, let's forget about anything else. Just like look at Bombay City, the way a South Bombay investor would put money and the way it thinks and invests is very different from maybe a Ghatkopar investor or a New Bombay investor. right? So Bombay, if you take as a microcosm of India, it's very, very individualized. So my contention is I think we are growing reasonably all right there. We have actually gone from a bit of a push product to a bit of a pull product, right? I think if you talk to any young investor today, starting off first, second jobs, you will find some proportion of his salary, his or her salary going to SIPs.
Correct.
It's become a bit of a default option, you know, and I remember 24, 25 years back when I started, that the default option were other products.
Correct.
In that age gap, right? So I think people have now realized that equity gives you good compounding returns provided you stay invested. And that's why I'm a big fan of SIPs. You know, I know people have their views about SIPs, but I think it's a great way to build wealth in a good time frame, in a disciplined way. Provided you can keep the journey. I find too many people jumping in and out of SIPs as if it is some stock. But I tell them, you started the journey, please complete it. And especially when a SIP is doing badly, when that scheme is doing badly, that's time you need to put more rather than figure out what you want to do with that, right? But that's a separate point. I think we've gone from about 1 crore investors to 3.6 now. And I think that's the barometer I will use. I'm not really getting into the 45 lakh, Suresh, because there's a lot of institutional money in that. There's a lot of HNI money in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of passives in that. So, and typically institutions and HNIs are the ones who jump into opportunities much faster. So my happiness is that 1 to 3.6. And that's also happened in the last maybe 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, if I remember correctly, 2013 taper tantrum, we were less than 1 crore of unique investors. Now we are 3.6. And I think lots of people have contributed. I think obviously AMC is one of them. The second part is this whole financial partner community that is there in the market. The third thing, of course, to my mind, very important is the regulator, because they've ensured that mutual funds are very transparent, very cost effective, and very, very service oriented. You know, I'm not sure if you know, SEBI has a lovely platform called Scores. So if any customer or investor has a problem, he puts it there. He or she puts it there, it immediately gets tracked, right? So I think if you take a combination of all of this, I think I won't be surprised if we add a zero to the number of investors. You know, that, hey, 3.6 can become 36 crores very quickly.
Very good, very good. I mean,
we did something very interesting. We did something very interesting with the MFU yesterday, the Mutual Fund Utility Portal, which allows seamless onboarding of new customers.
Okay.
A big pain point for partners, right? They said, yeah, it's a big nuisance, collect paper, this, that. KYC guidelines have to be followed. So that sometimes becomes an irritation. And you're talking to a new generation who's used to 2 or 3 clicks. Right? So that's the thing.
Yeah. So what you are saying is fine. I mean, you are saying that the journey which has started now is probably going well.
Yes.
The campaigns which we have and the financial, I mean, partners like us, we are doing our bit. AMCs are doing their bit, and so on and so forth. So financial education currently is underway. I mean, that is what I'm hearing
Yes.
from you, and it is going well. And even I have written a book on that. I mean, there are so many things which are happening. Even from my side, I have written a book called "If God Was Your Financial Planner" in a story format. So what more can we do from the financial education point of view to help? I mean, investors and investors at large to really understand personal finances really well.
I think, see, it's a bit of, 100 men can take a horse to water, 1,000 men cannot make it drink example, Suresh. So I think everyone will get their share of enlightenment at the speed at which they want it.
Okay.
Right. I remember your book and you sent it to me, and I sort of wrapped it up in about 4 or 5 weeks. I'm a nighttime reader, so it's not a heavy, it's not a light book. So my comments on your book are it's an absolutely right book. I love the format because it's not preachy. It's a question answer format. So question answer is something that we're all used to because we've all studied like that, right? So you ask a question, you get an answer, and then of course if God is answering, then it's an even bigger thing, right? I mean, you feel there is a sort of a presence over there. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we've got all these things running. So now next month, for example, or rather in September, sorry. So this month we will have a big investor education campaign around risk or meter and risk profiling. Now, this, to my mind, is one very important part of the whole investment process. 90% of investors, I read in some poll, saying that we have no clue why we put money. Somebody told me to put money, I put money. I think so I think books like yours will take the purpose of investing, make it clear. Not because, hey, I saw somebody on TV and he said, this is a great fund and you should put money in this fund. I just went and put. It's great. I'm very happy that people are doing that because at least they are moving money to something a little more productive. Our job is to convert savings to investments. And if it happens in that way, it's fine. But I think we need a lot more targeted work, and that's why we're trying to now go beyond the SIPS IEA campaign kind of a thing and try to get into more interesting stuff like risk profiling, risk meters. There's all tools available to all of us. I think the customer needs to figure out that how this works. Also, as I told you, investments are a very, very personalized process.
Yeah.
So that way, books like yours actually maybe my take on the book, and my dad, as I was telling you, has read that book, a part of it, right? And his take on the book will be very different.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
I'm very thrilled that people like you are doing this, because you may write it with a specific purpose, but various parts of your book audience will take different things away from.
Correct.
And my other theory about books is just keep distributing it as much as you can. I don't like keeping books in my house as much. If it's a good book, I think my point is to give it away as quickly as possible. It's like, storing money, as we talked about. Is you store money, it doesn't grow, right? The same logic works in books also. You can give it away.
Wonderful thought, boss. Wonderful thought. Yeah, Raghav. So, I mean, we are coming to the end of the discussion. What is
Yes.
what is your advice to investors of today? What should they do? Your parting shot.
I think just find a good financial partner, listen to him or her, and stay invested. It's very important. I think there's enough money to be made for patient investors, uh, and don't worry about the noise level. The noise level will go up and down dramatically for reasons which frankly don't concern you at all, right? So just stay there. But I think the biggest key thing is to find a good financial partner. I mean, you can do it yourself, like you said, Suresh. There's enough of material available in the world today.
Absolutely.
There are enough of abilities to do transactions directly. But I think the tough time for that, the proof of the pudding there will be when things go bad, and things are good, everything is fine. The market is giving you 20% return. Everyone thinks he's a great investor. I think things go bad are when people like you are actually around to sort of hold on to the investor and avoid him making any rash financial decisions. I think there's just too much. It's like the FMCG industry. There's too many products attacking your mind right now. You have a lot of clutter, and sometimes the loudest product may not be the best product. So then that's where you need someone who can act as a bit of a noise barrier,
Yeah.
and then say, hey, filter out the noise from the music and just let the music go through and enjoy the music. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, a good analogy you have given there,
Yeah,
noise
yeah.
barrier. I mean, I never thought about it that way. So thank you so much, Raghav. Thank you for this enlightening conversation which we had. I mean, thanks to your
Thank
words
you.
of wisdom. Thank you so much.